Okay, it's just about 3 o'clock, and we're getting real ready to share our strategies. And I'm really excited to have Lauri Kane here with me today. Feel like you're right next door, and I know you're all the way in New Jersey, and I'm now in Massachusetts, so we're further apart than before. Maybe you come visit. So, the highly effective consultations is always a question that we're getting every day of the week. What kind of strategies? What works? What doesn't work? How do we close more consults? Most people don't close 90% of that consults as you do. You're the expert, the way that I look at it. And you have lots of great strategies and ideas. We will show a video today. I am Cheryl Whitman of Beautiful Forever, and Beautiful Forever University is actually hosting educational webinars every week. We probably will even have two a week now that we have so many going, and we have a great list of people for the next couple of months speaking. Lauri and I were even discussing having strategies on consults part two, which might even be next week, same time. We'll try to keep them short and sweet and to the point. And any questions you have, please put them in the box, email us afterwards. I'm happy you're here to join us today for our Beautiful University consult strategies. We're going to share pearls and educate. Lauri Kane, it works and really works as Center for Cosmetic Surgery and MediSpa. And she's in Maryland. Her husband is a very well-known plastic surgeon. And we always know that there's a woman behind every successful man. And Lauri's it, no question about it. And for 30 years, she's been doing this, just probably as long as I've been doing this. And so she is an educator, practice marketing. She does everything for the practice. Lots of MediSpa services. She's very high up with Zeo Skin Health and skincare. And she really cares about her patients. She really does take that one-on-one concierge VIP approach. And that's what we're going to learn and we're going to actually see today on our live webinar. And so I'm going to unmute Lauri so this way she can join us and we can get to our next slide, which will actually be, Lauri, you doing a consult very recently. And welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad you have asked me to join you.
Yes, and me too. So tell us a little bit about, before you actually get ready to do the consult, do you have goals in mind? How much time do you spend? And then we'll actually show the video after you give us some of your pre-consult ideas.
Yeah, I have when I have a patient come into a room, we use a regular exam room. I don't use a special room. The first thing I really do is really try to get to know that person, a really true social, medical, emotional understanding of that person. Where are they coming from? Once I have a really good sense of where are they coming from, what's their reasons for being here, what are they trying to achieve, I could delve into a more personal approach with them. So I do that by really reviewing a medical history, understanding really everything about them, their emotional state, their physical state, their mental state, how healthy they are. If someone is having physical problems, we need to know everything about a person, whether it's for injectables or even if it's just a surgical approach. It's very important to know that person. And then once I get to know them, I find something to click with them. I find a social thing to talk about. I don't dive right into the actual consult, actually. I really try to spend a good 10, 15 minutes with that person, just getting to know them. And then once we develop a rapport, then they feel like I reveal things about myself, to that person. So there's a real social element about the consult. And then once I feel like I know that person, where they're coming from, I want to know their goals, they're achieving, what do they do in life, how many kids they have, are they single, are they divorced, their whole social history. I get to hear everything about them, and then we really can click. And once we click, they know that I'm listening. And I think the most important thing about a consult is that women want to be heard. Women want to be When women want to talk, they want to know that you're listening. They want to know that you really get, even if it's one fine line on their face or one little dent, they want to know that you heard that and you understand what they're here for. And I think once you achieve that relationship, it's all easy from that point forward, because then they have a trust in who we are.
Well, I think building the bond or building the relationship is a key thing, and you just made a really good point of it. How much time do you actually spend doing a consult?
I will spend about a half an hour with that patient before Dr. Kane even comes into the room.
Now, do you charge for your consults?
We do. We charge $75. And we found if you don't, they're all no-shows. So we, even in hard times, we still charge the $75 because it's not that much, but it's enough to make people come to their appointments.
And what happens if I book today and I pay the 75? Do you put that 75 towards my treatment?
We don't, no. Unless there's like a gray zone there, like, why are you charging me $75? You know, I don't want to lose the patient. If it's a good patient, my staff has a really good sense of, is it a good patient, a worthwhile patient? We'll say to the patient, yes, we'll put it toward your service. But to be honest, most patients do not ask that question. They feel that you warrant the 75.
Well, if you're spending 30 minutes with them, then yes.
That's just me alone. So then there's another good 20 minutes to half an hour when Dr. Kane comes in with me after the consult, and we complete the consult. So it's a solid hour or more that they're in the office with us.
So up front, when they're calling the desk, you're booking an hour for a consult.
Yes.
And what percentage of the people actually stay right after the consult to get a treatment done?
100%.
Stay, wow. I only put 90% down.
Injectable, rarely do I have a patient leave without having some form of a filler or injection. Unless it's sculpture where we don't do it on that same day. I rarely can't, educate a person to do some form of an injection, a filler injection that day. If it's a surgery, obviously we're gonna, plan the surgery. Now that's not 100%, but my injectable consults are nearly 100%.
I wish you were closer, but no, I think you're doing an amazing job. And even during the pandemic and the height of it, you were on doing, videos and promoting, and I just thought you were great. And occasionally I'll answer some of your e-blasts because I think they're wonderful. We'll actually show one afterwards. So now we're going to show the video. It's a 2-minute video of you actually doing a consult this week.
Correct. Yes.
Hi, I'm Lauri Kane from the office of Dr. Dean Kane in Baltimore, Maryland. I'll just pull my mask down so you can see that this is really the Lauri Kane. And we're here with our patient, Deb Murray. So we just finished reviewing Deb's medical history, her medications, trying to get an understanding of if she has any medical issues that we have to be worried about. So that's all done. And now I'm going to ask Deb to take off her mask. We are obviously in the COVID time period, and this is how we are seeing patients and doing consults. What do you do for a living?
I'm actually an esthetician.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah.
And what is your concerns that bring you here?
I don't like the laxity in my skin. It looks loose. It feels loose. I want to see it tighten up around the mouth.
Okay.
When I look up through this area, the corners of my mouth, in here.
Yeah. I see that.
To see
More volume. Downward slope to them. Where Dr. Kane actually will put filler. You don't really necessarily want it in the lip itself, although
I think that would be nice.
Yeah.
Fill my lips
I
out.
think your lips are a little thin. I think it would be nice. You've lost volume in your lips as well. So I'd like to see you fill your lip up a little bit more.
Okay.
And I would love to see you use filler in the corners.
Okay, I guess technical difficulties always happen. Are we going to go back to it? If not, then we could just move on because I know that it was a great consult. I watched a longer version of it, And I thought it was great. But for our listeners today, we want to keep everything short and to the point. We figured that we would just cut it down, as you're aware, from 4 minutes to 2 minutes, but it was a great video. And it really gave a good indication of how you really talk to and listen to the patient. And obviously that was a patient that you had from the past.
Yeah, yes.
Who knew you, because I could hear by the questions that she was asking.
Yeah, no, she definitely is a prior patient and who's had fillers and sculpture in the past with us, for sure. And yeah, maybe we're gonna get it started again.
I don't know.
There you go.
And puts it right in the corner to anchor up the corners. So you get this really nice elevation, you know, of the corners right here. Some people feel that they just want the corners and they want to leave their lips alone, but I think in your case, I would like the idea of two fillers. You would actually need two fillers. Okay. One filler alone is what we need to just do those corners, and another filler for the lip itself.
Yeah, I definitely want my lips done.
All right, we'll plan to do that today. I'll bring Dr. Kane in. They'll complete the evaluation, and we'll move forward and we'll take the pictures today and get everything going.
Okay, great.
Let's do it.
Do you take photos every time somebody comes in?
No, just once a year, or once a year for doing something different or new. But generally, we just do a set of before pictures, and then if they come back 2 to 4 weeks, we'll do the after pictures, and then we'll do a series just once a year. We don't keep doing them throughout the year. It's just not necessary.
Okay, and next week, if
Although I have to stop where our MediSpa, however, for skincare and skin products, these we're taking almost every time they come in. Yes, for skin products.
all right, and we'll talk about photos and how important they are, which I think everybody who's listening knows that, but we'll talk about how important they really are. So in sharing your pearls, we have an adorable picture that you added to one of your e-blasts, and I thought the kissy was so cute. I thought it was great. I'll have to order those masks. I've seen them online, but I have never ordered them, but I think it's great. And you're very creative, and obviously your staff is too. So the first impression that people have of you after seeing you on video, they probably feel like they know you anyway, but the first impression is really important, as we know. So when you're starting your consults, is it that you're also asking them questions and answers and not talking if it's somebody that might be the first time? This woman, obviously, that we just heard, knew you, you felt comfortable, she felt comfortable with you, and she took your word for it, not really a whole lot of questions.
Well, I think when I have a new patient, that's the key part where I spend obviously so much more time with a new patient than an existing patient. A new patient, you definitely have to win them over. You have to gain their confidence. I think what works for me is the fact that I've been doing this for 30 years, and really I can look at a person's face and know exactly what I want to do for them. I know how to work with that person to make them feel comfortable. And once they get to know me, and I tell people, this is the product I've used on my face. This is where I've had, radiesse. This is where I've had a chemical peel, which is where I have sculptra. I really let people know about me personally, so that they can feel comfortable moving forward, saying, oh, well, if you could do it, I guess I can do it. And that gives them a real sense of, wow, if you're doing it, I guess I can do it too. And my before and afters are pretty good before and afters. I didn't look this good without Dean's help.
We all need a little bit of help.
Thank God for husbands who are plastic surgeons. So, so I think that it's very crucial I feel very confident in my knowledge base and knowing what I want to do for that person. I'm very genuine. I don't have a sales pitch. I don't try to oversell a person, but I don't undersell either. And I think it's crucial if someone says to me, well, I really only have, enough of one filler, when I see that they can use 3 or 4 fillers, I'll say, you know what, then you should use a filler. If I see that they have thin lips, I think lips is the most powerful thing you can do for a woman. It pops their face. If they had one filler or one thing they can do, I focus in on just that one thing and make make them feel good about other things about their face. And I think that's another really important thing that I've learned over the years. You've got to make a person feel good about themselves, that maybe they're not happy about one part of themselves and they focus so much on that that they don't see how beautiful they are in other ways. And I think you have to combine that, you have beautiful eyes, you have beautiful lips, you have beautiful high cheekbones. And I think a person has to recognize that, that they're beautiful, and yes, we could correct what they're here for, but you want them leaving happy about themselves and not depressed. I just had a funny, when Dean and I were first starting out years and years ago, 30 years ago, Dean used to do the consults and I would be sitting in the exam room listening to Dean do these exams, and he would just like tell that person everything that was possibly wrong with that person's face. And the woman left, I could see their eyes starting to tear up a little bit. And I said, Dean, what are you doing? He goes, well, she paid the money. I want to tell them exactly what's wrong. I said, no, this has got to kind of stop here. And that's when I took over the consults.
So do you consult solo? Is there anybody else that does the consults?
I do them all. I don't do the skin anymore, but I do all the injectables and the surgical ones. And then I spend a good chunk of time, educate them, explain how things are done, whether it's injectables, face lifts, breast lifts, tummy tucks, explain the whole process to them. And then I have Dean come in and complete the evaluation. He goes through everything. I give him a heads up before he walks in the room, saying, this is what I discussed with the patient, and this is what I think she needs. About 99% of the time, we're pretty much in agreement. There's that 1% of time, all of a sudden he'll come in and say something different than I just said. And actually patients kind of like this husband-wife bantering because,
right, that's cute.
I say it like I say it like I am, and he'll say what he has to say. And the patient's looking back and forth at us like, well, this is a real husband and wife team here. So, but it's funny, and patients like the fact that I'm on their side. I'll say to Dean, this is her problem, and he doesn't sometimes hear it. And I'm the advocate for the patient to say, this is what we just talked about. She's not that concerned about that problem. She's concerned about this problem. So, and I think the patient really appreciates the fact that, like I said, she's been heard, and I can be that person. And what's happened over time with patients but we go back years and years. I mean, we have patients coming back to us 25 years, really. We have that length of loyalty. And they'll say, we love the way you do it, but we want her in the room. So, so I'll tell, and he's finally, like, at first he was insulted many years ago, and then he kind of recognized where, what, let the patient have Lauri in the room, let Lauri tell me what to do, and I just do what Lauri tells me to do.
They married so long.
But he won't do anything he doesn't think it should be done. I mean,
no, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He's very ethical, and we know that. And I know that about him for a very long time.
He is so ethical.
Are you doing consults every day of the week? Like, how do you schedule what's your schedule like?
Yeah, so Tuesdays and Fridays are our patient consultation injectable days. Wednesday, Thursdays are our surgery, minimally invasive procedures, and our sculpture days. We do a huge amount of sculpture in our office. It's become a huge area that Dean has become quite known in with sculpture. So today was like 4 sculptures patients today.
Which is great, and we'll go into that, further in another, webinar. So when you recognize that somebody has an issue with money, or they just say, I need 1 vial, or you tell them, oh, the vial is this much, and they say, well, 1 is enough, I can't afford 2. Do you go into patient financing options? Do you talk to them about, options that you offer?
I do. So all the time. So if patients are saying, gosh, I really want to do this, but I really can't afford it, I can only afford 1 out of the 2, then we'll talk about care credit, saying I can offer you care credit, 0% interest for 6 months, and now they have the 18-month 0% 0% or the 2 or 3 years with interest. I say it's like filling out a credit card. We can do it for you right now. And they'll say, yeah, let's do it. And I'll take them right out of a room. I'll actually hand the patient to our secretary, who will fill out the application for them, and they get approved that minute. Then boom, we go back in the room and the injections are done.
That's great. Have you ever used a pre-approval system that they have? Because when we train, we often tell people to pre-approve. So this way, when the night before, maybe when you're confirming your appointments.
I think that's a phenomenal idea. I really have to put that into place. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a little, I guess I really need to develop a dialogue for my staff, because I don't really answer the phones. So I need to create a dialogue with my staff to, say to the staff, okay, if you should need care credit, we can help you do this now. And I really think that's a phenomenally great idea to do. I do that if I'm talking to a certain.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I think that making things affordable, especially now, is really important. So we can't assume who has money and who doesn't. So I think mentioning it to everybody is helpful, because some people might not want to use a credit card, or might not want their spouse to know, or their partner. They're spending money.
That happens a lot. Not letting the spouse know is up there.
I know. So we have a question about the 1% that don't book with you. How do you follow up, and what do you do to follow up?
If they're not ready, they're not ready. I will keep. We have a system, our super bill system. We're still a little on the old-fashioned super bill style.
Okay.
So it's a 2-page super bill, and one goes to the biller, another comes to either me or my surgical coordinator, and we write down on this actual super bill what the patient was interested in. I actually write on that super bill, handwrite, okay, well, this person is out of a job right now, but she thinks she's going to be getting a job. And I write a description about her, like she's, an African-American who is 40 years old and works like this. And I write little notes. And then we keep a file of those patients, and we ask the patient, can I call you back in about, a couple of weeks or a month, or depending upon their situation. And we keep a file of, I like paper. I'm still an old-fashioned paper person. So I think, it's nice. You open up a folder, like I have for every month, I keep this, the super bill. And then I go back month by month, read my notes about what that person said, or what they're hoping for, when they're hoping for surgery, when they're hoping to, have a job, or when they have time. And I write, and then we email, and then we call the patient, usually a month. Well, I always email or call. If it's a surgical consult, I always call or email within about 2 or 3 days of the consult to see where they're at. Are they ready to schedule? If they're not quite, and I ask them, well, when do you think you might want it? And they'll say, well, maybe sometime in the fall. Then I'll make a note to call them in August, and we connect with them again in August to see where they are timing wise, and then just make notes again, like, are you ready to book, in the fall? So I'm always keeping notes, and I've had folders that go back over the whole year, and I just, people a year later still come back for surgery. So you just never know the timing of when people can do surgeries or not.
Well, surgeries is a whole different story, because you need the time off maybe from work. Do you offer any incentives to close a sale? Because we usually find if you have a gift card of $250 in your drawer, or if you have something that you can offer, sometimes you can close the deal right then and there.
Sometimes I'll negotiate on the price with them. If it's just, I just did that the other day. A patient said, well, I came to you, this is a true story. I came to you several years ago, and I couldn't quite have the time off. She's a airline attendant, and she didn't have the time to take off, and our prices were a whole lot lower then. So she comes back, and our prices were much higher. And she goes, wow, you raised your prices. I said, well, it's been a good 5-6 years since you've been here. And so I called her. She really, really wanted to do this surgery. I mean, I could just tell she wanted to do the surgery. And so I said, well, you know, what would make the difference for you to move for surgery? And she goes, well, if we just bring it down to this level, I can do it. I said, fine, let's just do it. So I'll negotiate. I think price to patients are more important than gifts. You know, we actually, as we would always put a free facial, MediSpa facial as a gift. So every one of our surgical patients used to get a free facial as a gift to them upon having surgery, and then they get pampered like a couple of months, a month or two later after they're recovered. So that's one way we give a gift as well. We give a free, MediSpa pampering facial for signing up with surgery. But that's never been the one that clinches the deal. What clinches the deal is the price. Baltimore is a very, very competitive environment, and we have a lot of plastic surgeons in our area, from Hopkins to University of Maryland, and so money is an issue, and pricing, and what we struggle with is that Dean is a truly experienced surgeon, and people have to value that, yes, we're going to be a little bit more expensive than the new plastic surgeon coming out of a program. And so, we deal with younger plastic surgeons around here who are quite a lot less than we are. And so there's sometimes I'll negotiate to a certain point, but I won't drop it to a low price. I mean, Dean earned his reputation and the experience, and that's what people are coming for. And that's what you stand for.
Right. I mean, there are some places that are just discount houses. There are some that just Groupon places. And then there's some like yourself that hold a certain standard. And after 30 years of being a surgeon, and he's done multiple thousands and thousands of cases. And he is an expert and a trainer. I mean, I know that. So, so I guess, people have to recognize that, and that has to be something that not only the front desk, but you also have to reiterate and talk to them about. But if they're coming in and they're paying the $75 consult fee, and they know some of this ahead of time, and they look at your website, I think people will get it, because there might be some younger doctors out there who are not charging anything, and they can go to them too. But he has a great reputation, and the word of mouth. I'm sure. What percentage of word of mouth is your practice?
In this day and age with Google, it's like, I mean, we get return clients and friends and families of people for sure. But when we ask, what are you coming in for? How did you hear about us? It's always Google. I mean, I did my research. I think the one thing that brings people to us is our reviews online, our reputation online. We have an incredible level of reviews. I think it may be an important whole nother subject line, but I think it's, if you want to build yourself up, everyone says, I did my research. That's what they say. I've done my research, and this practice just keeps coming up high in the reviews. We're actually the #1 top rated plastic surgeon in Baltimore.
Oh, wow.
And the way we accomplish that is a patient comes out of a room, they're super happy with what they just had done, whether it's surgery, a facial, they're happy with my esthetician. We immediately send them a link. Here, please review us. That's the best gift you could give us. And we try to get reviews almost on a daily basis.
Do you do the reviews in the office, or they go home and do them?
We send them a link that they can review us on Real Self, Google, or Facebook, and then they can do it at their convenience.
Which is good if they follow through, which obviously they do. We do have a question now from a woman named Tamara, and she's asking about referral incentives for patients. If they're going to send in a friend or a family member, what do you do for them? Yeah, again, it kind of depends on how much they have referred to us. We'll certainly give them maybe a free facial. I'm not into giving discounts for things, so we don't discount for those things. But as a thank you, we will say, we want to give you something pampering, something nice from our practice, and we'll typically give them a nice facial for it. how will you communicate this to them? So they've sent their friend into you now, and how do they know their friend came in, or how do you know? Because most of the time they're not going to take the time to come with the friend.
It's not, I find it a complicated situation, so we really don't get a lot of requests that way. I don't create an incentive program like that. We know just by the person telling us, we know that this person sent in a lot of patients and we have sent in people. But I have to say that's not the bulk of, I don't really get into creating that kind of a system.
Yeah, and I can understand that, and there are some fine line rules and gray areas too.
Yeah, there's HIPAA regulations as well that you got to be super careful with. So
that's why I was asking, how do you go back and communicate with them? So another question is, do you give prices over the phone when somebody calls up about Botox or filler or anything? Do you give prices over the phone, and how do you handle that? Because it could just be a price shock, or
we do. I think people do need to know pricing. I think it helps in advance to set their mindset in a place where they know what they should know when they get in here in the door. Like, I don't want them to think that, you know, our Botox is $6 a unit when it's a lot higher. So I do let people know that what the prices are. For example, you keep having this Kiss filler. I'm so impressed with this filler, by the way, that, you know, I charge a good amount for that filler, but I explain the positive nature for that filler, and that syringe is actually overfilled. It's actually giving you a syringe on almost a quarter. So I charge a little bit more for it, but explain why. So, you know, explain why we charge what we charge and give you value behind the number. And so I do believe in giving a price, but at the same token, I'll say to you, you will have never had a Dysport or Jeuveau treatment, the Nutox treatment, like you have anywhere else, like you have from Dr. Kane. He is really a expert injector, and you'll see people will say, I could get it cheaper. I said, yes, but I promise you'll be back. And they do, because once they see how Dean injects, most people come back to him and know that he's a little bit more than again, that experience makes all the difference in the world.
So after somebody has the injections and the fillers, do they come back for him to check it like 10 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later?
We, every single new patient, we absolutely have come back. Matter of fact, Dean has a chart that he uses where he placed, he draws on his face charts, okay, where he absolutely injected his neurotoxin, where he put his filler, draws exactly where he put it. And when the patient comes back in 2 weeks and he has to, you know, he doesn't often have to tweak anything, but, you know, if the patient says, God, that is the best I ever had, and truly we'll write on that sheet, it's the best I've ever had, it was perfect, do it just like that again when I come back, we write that, it was perfect. If he needs to tweak it, you know, he'll put in other colors to show how he just tweaked it, and then we have, for the next time when they come again, he'll know exactly how to inject for that time. So usually the first year that patients come in, we'll see them back in 2 weeks. For our long time patients who have been with us forever, they'll say, no, just give me my 4-month appointment. If I feel like I need to, I'll call you, and, you know, I'll come back to get it tweaked if I need it. But so the long time patient, they don't need those 2-week appointments. But a new patient, you want to make sure they're happy, and we make them happy. So, which
is great. And you know, his injections are obviously great because he's so busy. He is the only injector there, from what it sounds like.
He is. We used to have a nurse injector. She did leave the practice several years ago, and we decided to not hire another nurse injector. And Dean loves it. The thing is, he's an unusual plastic surgeon who loves injecting. It's an expertise that he has just gained, and so we realized we don't really want the nurse injector, that he loves what he does, and there's no need for it.
Well, that's great. He's a pro at what he does, and everybody knows it. And I don't know if there's any other questions, but we hope that we can have you back because you're so informative, such great information. Um, and I know that there's so much more we could talk about because we've already gone over the half hour, and I like to keep things a little bit, within the 30, 40-minute range because everybody's busy. And I'm sorry to take you away from your day of work, but it was wonderful hearing you, listening to you, catching up with you. And there's a lot of questions that I still have, so we might have to do it again.
Yeah, I'm happy. I love doing this. So
Good.
it's what I enjoy.
That's
I'm
great.
happy
So
to be here.
maybe next week, same time, we'll look at our schedules and we'll see if we could fit in, which would be great. And I
Sounds
thank you
good.
so much for your time and keep up the good work. And if there's other questions, we'll get them to you.
Perfect. Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you. So if there's any other questions, you can send them to us. And here is a list of some of our experts that are coming up. Some are physicians, and then we have one that's not. But the next one is the 16th of June. And we're going to talk about adding weight loss to your menu and what the return on investment is, which is amazing. And we have Dr. Azza Halim, who is a board certified anesthesiologist. It'll be interesting to hear her point of view of mapping out a year's program. And the founder of My Face, My Body, the first virtual trade show, just had their second year, very successful. I was happy to be part of their program. We'll now be talking about virtual events and virtual trade shows and much more about virtual businesses. So we've invited him on and very excited that he's going to join us. And then Dr. Alcaro's date is actually July 8th, if is correct. And he's really fun, plastic surgeon, MediSpa owner in Georgia. And so I look forward to having him on with us. And we have a lot more that is not even listed here. But I thank you for being here today. Beautiful Forever's pre-launch to Beautiful Forever University. It's a limited special. It's $199, which includes lots of discounted hours, discounted programs. You get a copy of our book. And the university members will get a lot of extra practice assessment time, mystery calls, ongoing education as part of our program. So the startup pre-launch program is limited, and it really is limited. I'm not just saying that, but it is limited at $199 now for the first group of people that sign up. And happy to say we have our first few dozen signed up. So it's really exciting. So if you want to be part of it, just email us or go on to beautifulforever.com and you could check out my books, Beautifully Profitable. And that was my second book. The first book we're updating right now, The Aesthetic Medical Success System. And I hope to see you on our next talk, which will probably be next week with Dr. Pinto, which is Tuesday at 4 o'clock. That's June 16th. And following that might be Lauri again on June 18th, probably at 3 o'clock. And we'll keep you posted. Follow us on Facebook and look forward to next week.